how long should my dissertation be? How many pages does it have to be? Really, there isn't a simple answer to that. My name's Steve Tippins, and I've been in academia for over 35 years. I've been involved with over 300 dissertations, and I've helped hundreds of students by coaching them to finish their dissertation through Beyond PhD coaching. Let's talk about the length of a dissertation. There is no perfect number for your dissertation length. First of all, it's going to depend on your discipline. History might be a lot longer than mathematics. I've heard of a mathematics dissertation that was 1 page. How is that possible? What I was told is that this person solved an intractable math problem that had never been solved before and was able to do it in 1 page. And if that's the criteria, great. They finish. They're done. They've completed a dissertation. However, for most of us, our dissertation is going to be more than a page. You can go online and go into Google or ChatGPT or anyone else and say, hey, what's the average length of a dissertation? And they'll give you a number, but it's kind of meaningless because ultimately your committee is going to be the answer. And when I tell you a number of pages, remember, it may not all be written. There could be graphs or tables, also references. Remember, typically pages are double spaced. Most people follow a manual of style, whether that's APA or Chicago, Turabian, or some other form of style, but your font size and your spacing are going to be based on that, but also your university guidelines. Please stop chasing page counts. I've seen too many people say, oh, I got my 40 pages, I'm done, but they haven't fully explained things. Pages have to be there, but ultimately you have to be telling your story, and whatever is needed to tell your story is the appropriate number of pages. And that appropriate number of pages is there so that you can A, show that you've done what you need to do, B, show you understand your field, understand the literature, how your work ties into all the work that's done before you. Work doesn't happen in a vacuum. You will become part of generations of research. Word count is nowhere near as important as clarity. Explain every piece of literature that's ever been written on a topic to help the reader understand what has been done and what hasn't been done and why what hasn't been done needs to be done. So develop the gap in the literature. Chapter 1, your introduction, 12 to 20 pages, somewhere in there, is typically sufficient to introduce things. Chapter 2, your literature review. I know of a school that says it must be between 30 and 50 pages. My bias is enough to explain things and show, like I said, what the literature is and how your ideas fit within it and the gap. Thinking in the 40-ish to 50 page range is typically going to be enough. Chapter 3, your methodology. I like to think you can do this in around 15 pages. I also like to think of chapter 3 as a recipe. In chapter 3, you're telling the reader every single step you went along the way so they can understand what you're going to do, but also replicate if need be. Chapter 4, your results. This can vary widely, okay? I think of 20 to 40 pages, most likely going to have a number of charts, a number of figures in order to support the results you're showing. So to get to 30 or 40 pages may not be too difficult when you start inserting figure 7 and table numbers 18. Your final chapter, chapter 5, includes, what does it all mean? How does my work fit within the literature? And what else should be done? I've seen a lot of people get here and get tired and say, oh God, I'm done. Okay, here's 4 pages. Yeah. Well, from a committee member's perspective, that says to me, you just spent a year or so of your life and all you got is 4 pages to say about it? There must be more, or did you actually do the work, or, what else is going on? So you can think of chapter 4 again, or 5, excuse me. You can think of chapter 5. I've seen some people say as low as 10, maybe up to 20 pages. This is where you get to say, hey, here's what it means. Here's what else should be done. Here's how my work ties in with everything else. And, this is your chance to show what your work was and, how important it is. So really take the time to come up with that 14, 15, 16 pages. I've mentioned templates. I've mentioned committees. While I've given you broad numbers of pages, Every committee and every university is going to have a little different take on it. But if you kind of think of those as a broad guideline, you're at least going to have an idea of what you're looking for. Sometimes you're going to get committee feedback that may not be important now. They might be just helping you for the future. And every once in a while, you're going to get committee feedback that has nothing to do with your document. Nobody has ever failed in their doctoral research because it wasn't too long or it was too short. What they failed from is not complete. And completion, fully answering your research questions, fully getting to the problem you stated, is what's important, not whether it's 104 or 107 pages. If you want examples of what committees have approved, if you want to talk about what is needed in a dissertation, join our free dissertation help program and get support, get our 5-step process to help finish your dissertation, and get weekly meetings for support and accountability. I'd love to help you finish your dissertation so that you can go out and change the world.